Honda's 5th generation CRV has evolved into a more sophisticated mid-sized SUV that's cleverer, classier and more efficient. It can certainly reach a wider audience this time round, thanks to the availability of either hybrid power or a fresh 1.5 litre VTEC petrol unit that can be ordered with an optional 7-seat cabin configuration. Honda hopes that, as a result, you'll find this a hard car not to like.
Honda buyers tend to be a loyal lot, people with considerable faith in this engineering-led brand, and they're going to need that kind of trust to buy into this 5th generation CRV. The company's now telling them that a little 1.5 litre petrol engine's now enough to push along a 1.7 tonne mid-sized SUV, and that diesel power belongs in the past, despite the fact that almost every rival model in this segment still uses it. A clever 2 litre petrol-electric hybrid unit is provided instead. Part of the idea behind changes of this sort is, of course, to broaden this model's customer base, and as part of that, Honda knew it also had to serve up a slightly sharper dynamic recipe this time round. Hence the installation of a much stiffer compact global platform, agile handling assist torque vectoring for extra traction through the turns, and the introduction of a more proactive real-time all-wheel drive with intelligent control system that's either optional or standard depending on the engine you choose. This setup's been tuned to send more torque through the system and can push up to 60% of it to the rear wheels when required. The 1.5 VTEC engine that we're trying here struggles a little under hard acceleration to push along this fairly hefty mid-sized SUV, but it's fine if you leave this car in its commuting comfort zone. Buyers of this unit can have it in a 173 PS state of tune with manual transmission, or as in this case, with 193 PS mated to a CVT auto gearbox. The latter variant manages 39.8 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 158 grams per kilometre of CO2. Figures that the 184 PS hybrid model can improve to 53.3 miles to the gallon and 120 grams per kilometre if you order it with front-wheel drive. When it comes to automotive design, the more people you have to please, the less distinctive the end result is likely to be. This, apparently, is the world's favourite SUV, so a lot of people are going to have an opinion on how this 5th generation CRV looks. Most should be satisfied. There's plenty of chrome to please the transatlantic crowd, while wider arches and larger wheels pushed closer to the car's extremities help in delivering a little more curbside presence. Overall, though, there's nothing too controversial here. Perhaps that's as it should be. This car's visual appeal has always been low-key, and you sense that's exactly the way loyal customers like it. When it's time to take a seat behind the wheel, you'll note the way that this car offers its driver's seat at a very convenient hip point as you climb in. Inside, an expansive stitched panel sweeps the width of the cabin, bisected by a gloss black central section for the infotainment screen and ventilation controls, which sits just above the raised gear stick placement that's a typical CRV touch. Beyond that, the brand's clear intention was to give this Mark V model a more upmarket feel, hence the soft-touch plastics used around the upper dash areas, the stitched leather on the door trims and the silver highlights. Many of the fixtures and fittings are borrowed from the brand's 10th generation Civic, including the instrument binnacle that you view through the 3-spoke wheel. Now, it's one of those combination digital and analogue affairs, with stylised analogue temperature and fuel gauges flanking a central TFT LCD screen. Anything this instrument binnacle monitor can't tell you will be covered off by this 7-inch centre dash infotainment screen. The Garmin satellite navigation package it includes isn't any great shakes, but because there's also Apple CarPlay and Android Auto phone mirroring connectivity, you can bypass that if you want and alternatively load in something like Google Maps or Waze. This 7-inch Connect screen also includes internet browsing capability, a reversing camera and a DAB audio system with at least 8 speakers. Okay, let's take a look in the back seat. Once seated, you'll find that, as promised, it really is very spacious back here indeed by class standards. If you're struggling to justify the premium required for a CRV over what you pay for a slightly cheaper SUV that's Qashqai or Attica sized, here's where you'll do it. Instead of the relatively cramped conditions offered by models like that, there's room to stretch out a bit here, courtesy of a 50mm increase in legroom this time round, aided further by slim seat backs and the way that you can easily slide your shoes under the chair in front. We'll finish with a look at the boot, but on the way make a few observations about the extra cost 7-seat cabin configuration. The fold-out rearmost chairs provided are okay for kids, but anyone above school age is probably going to complain mightily if you confine them at the very back of this car for any significant period of time. And the cargo area? Once everything's opened up, you'll find that with this 5-seat 1.5 VTEC model, 561 litres of capacity is offered up. A stat that's competitive with class rivals, courtesy of the largest boot ever offered in a CRV, 160mm wider than it was before. Once you've flattened everything in this 5-seat model, a 1,756 litre space is freed up if you load to the ceiling. In summary, we can see why so many global customers will accept nothing less than Honda's interpretation of what an SUV of this kind should be. And what's on offer this time round is a model that could conceivably interest many more of them. Ultimately, it remains distinctively different, distinctively CRV, which ultimately might very well be all you need.